we're here for day two as a cloud engineer. So on this journey, we are going through tickets as a cloud engineer. So we've already done day one, which I will also link the GitHub repo in the description where you could go and start and clone the repo to do the steps for day one. Day two, as we are learning Linux Foundation and Workstation Setup. This is actually our objective for week one. So for day one, we set up our workstation. So it will be good if you go through the steps and set up your workstation. For day two, as a junior engineer has been given access to production Linux server, but cannot perform basic operational tasks. The team lead has created a training ticket. You must demonstrate proficiency in Linux file system navigation, user management, file permissions, process management, system monitoring before being granted elevated access. So the team lead is basically trying to find out the proficiency of this junior engineer. And the business impact is that engineers without Linux CLI proficiency cannot perform any operational deployment or troubleshooting tasks. This skill is absolutely foundational for all cloud engineers. So for that, we'll be using Ubuntu, which I've already spun up, and some of these commands. So this definitely does not is not like the only Linux commands you need to know as an engineer. But this series is a hands-on series. So this is not really a tutorial, it's a practical lab session that we're going to be going through weekly, week by week. We'll get our hands dirty. Yes, get our hands used to running those commands on the CLI on the console and putting those tools that we are learning to work. So let's get started. So the junior engineer has been given 4 hours to pass this validation test. These are the technical objectives and these are the prerequisites required. So you must have completed day one, which is TO1, which was the WSL Ubuntu environment setup, and then access to WSL through Ubuntu terminal, which is what you see right here on my screen. So like I said, I'll link the repo in the description or in the comment section for you to go through and do the same. This is the engineering task. This is the engineering task right here. These steps, this is what you're supposed to do to fulfill this lab session. So, but I try to make it as simple as possible so that anyone could just follow the steps. And then, of course, you could always open your AI charts to understand some of the commands if it doesn't, if you need more further clarification, which is very good for that depth of knowledge. So these are the step-by-step commands that we're going to be running to fulfill these engineering tasks that we're doing. Okay, so here I'm going to log into normally most of these labs, I try to use the AWS as a cloud service provider, and then because with that you get a free tier, even though mine is no longer a free tier, but you get free tier for some months, and then I prefer to do it there because I could always terminate the server and everything is gone, so I don't mess with my local system. Okay, so this is IP of the server that I have spun up. Okay, so here we are. So we're going to be running the first command. So normally when you spin up the server, you're supposed to run some steps, upgrade, update steps. But I think I already did that. Okay, so we are done with those preliminary steps. Now we start our lab. So the first command is to list the root directory with its permission. So this command right here, we list all the things in our root directory. So it lists everything including the hidden files. So the dot files are the hidden files, and it also shows us the permission. So that's what this command does. ls-la, then space forward slash. So the forward slash is the root. That's the root directory. All right. If you notice when I didn't include it here, it didn't list all the commands. This was the home directory, and this is the root. Okay, that's the difference. Then you could also do ls. Ls is not going to show us anything because we don't really have anything that's not hidden here. But if you do ls dash ls like I did earlier, it will show the hidden files. You notice that all the files that it showed has a dot before the file name or the folder name. So here, if you see the D is at the directory, the ones that have D appended to them right here, those are the directory, and these ones without the D are the files. Okay, so the next says tree. So this is supposed to, I'll just copy it and paste. So tree is a command. Let me clear my screen and paste it here. So they are suspected that was going to happen. So we need to install the three command. The command that lists your files and directory in a structure, in a sort of structure. Once it's done installing, we'll run the command again, and then what I'm trying to explain will make more sense. So copy the command again. So you see how it's giving us that graphical view of the files and folders. That's a lot. So of the ECC, Etsy, right? That's what it is. So that Etsy directory, this is another directory under that, and then this is they're kind of giving us a structure of how the files and folders within this directory, how they are structured. That's the three commands. We're going to still run it as we proceed for a smaller folder. Okay, so now we're going to create a lab directory structure. And to do that, we're going to use this command, make directory, make dir, and dash p, parent, and we're going to create all these folders and files with just one command. Like I said, you could always check it out on using your AI chat if any of the commands doesn't make sense. And of course, you also need to probably do a lot more Linux um, practice. Okay, so now we've created, if we do ls, remember when we did ls before, nothing showed up, but now you see we've created this this folder. We actually created this folder, and these files within this folder. We're going to run the three commands to see the structure of what we created. Yeah, so the three command will make better sense here. So it's telling us that we have 6 directories and 0 files. So we created the VOH lab, and under that we created one, and under that we have backups, configs, logs, and scripts, and they are all folders. So we could also do ls-le, the VOH lab. Okay, so it tells us that this is all directories. We also do, let's open up this particular directory. So here you go. So we see that all of them are directories, backup, complete, logs, and state. Okay, so let's continue. So file operation. We have the screen. So for the file operation, we're going to use the touch command. So the touch command basically creates a file. Use that to create a file. The same way you could use vi or nano or vim, depending on the Linux distribution that you use. So here we are creating this particular file, app.conf. But we are creating it inside the configs folder. Remember, we created the configs folder right here, right? When we run this make there command, make directory, we created the configs directory. Yeah, I use folder and directory interchangeably. So touch creates a file within this configs folder, which is inside this 01 folder, and is also within this VOH labs folder. So we enter that, and then we copy the next command. Because remember, this is a task that we've been given. So we are actually carrying out the task, just that I'm giving a little bit of explanation around what some of the commands mean. Okay, so for this particular command, echo. So the echo command means to write. It's trying to write environment equals production. If you notice the quotation marks around it, and is writing it into this file that we created. Okay, writing it into this file. In fact, before we create this, before we write into the file, let me run another command first. So let's cat. Cat means to show, concatenate. So cat command will show us what is within the app conf file, right? So if you notice, nothing is right in there right now. Nothing is in there. So we are going to write environment equals production. That's what we are going to write in there. Then we'll run that command again. So now that we've done that, if we cat again, you see, we have imputed something, a test, inside app.conf. Okay. So the next command says copy. CP. CP is the copy command. So let me paste that in there. So this copy command is saying copy what is inside this file and copy it into the backups folder. Remember, the backups was one of the folders we also created up here when we ran this command, right? So right now, before we run that command, let's cut what is inside. Let's find out if we have, because it's saying copy this file inside this folder. Let's find out if there's even any file inside backups here. So to do that, let's do ls field hit lab 01 backup, and then enter. You see, there's nothing in there right now. But then once we copy that file, so copy means while leaving the copy in here, you know the copy is already inside the configs folder. Send another copy into the backups folder. Okay, so run that, and then we'll run the ls command again, checking what is inside backup. You see the app.conf file is now also inside backup. So if you run the command and check is the file still inside config, let's find out. It's still there. So another copy. So we have two copies of the app.conf file now. We have one in the backup folder and we have one in the configs folder. Now, okay, so the move command in this scenario, it's not the same as copy. So the move command is going to rename this file that is in configs folder. So it's going to rename it from this to this. So let's go ahead and run that now. Okay, but before we do that, let's do ls and list what is actually in the config directory. Okay. So we have two files there, app.com and app.conf.backups. Okay. So now when we run this command, it's going to rename this particular file. Let's put that in. Then we do the next command again. So here you go. You see, it has changed this particular file to this attended.bk. So that's what the move command does. You could also move a file from a particular location to another, a completely new location. So let's just quickly do that as well. Even though it's not included in the steps here. Or if we say, let's say we move, so what other, how did you folder did you create? So if we move it to maybe logs, yeah. So let's move it to the logs folder. We're moving it to logs, but you know the name is no longer this. So the one we actually moving, the one that says com dot backup. Right. So if we run this command now, we see that there you go. So if we do ls on the config directory, we see that the backup file is gone. Okay. So now we go ahead and work on permissions. So for permissions, these are the commands we're expected to run. This is going to list both the hidden and all the files and directories within this directory with one. And that is what we have here. So we are going to be doing a modification. Right now, the permissions is divided into they are like the first three belongs to the user, then the second three the group, and then others. Right now they basically all have all the permissions granted to them. So we're going to be doing some modification. So for that, we're going to run this remote command 755. So 7 is like all permissions given to whoever it is, the user, the group, or others. So the read permission is 4, the write permission is 2, while the execute permission is 1. That's if you add that up, you get 7. So in this scenario, if you run this command on this particular directory, and we run the ls command again, let's see what we have. So if you notice now on the script, because we run it on the script folder, you notice that the user still has all the permissions, but the group has only the execute, right? No, it has the read, it doesn't have the write anymore. That's the group. Before it had it, which was the W writing, but now it's gone because 5 only gives you the read and the execute. That's 1. 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, so that's what happened. Then let's also run this command here. They're also modifying the permissions from the folder and also the file, the config folder and the file within. So it's basically going to append on this particular file. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we run the command again. Oh, we're gonna run it in the directory. So 640, that is read write for the user, read write for the user, read for the group, and nothing for the others. So that's what exactly what happened after we ran that command. And then this is another command where we're giving the user execution on this particular file folder. Yeah, so added. Remember, this is just for us to get our hands dirty on the command line in terms of minutes before the training is given access to servers. Okay, so now we move on to the next stage of this, which is user management. So for user management, you're going to be creating a new user VOH trainee. So user add is the command you are going to be using, and that dash M is to create a home folder using default shell in bash. So copy this command. It's done. And we are also creating a password for this new user. That's the command to run. So it's going to prompt us to create a password for the unique. And of course, the password is a secret, so it's not going to show on my screen. But if you notice, it says password updated successfully. And okay, so we are done with that step. And then now we want to give the VOH trainee, our new user, we want to give this user elevated privilege, which is the sudo admin privilege. So that's the command to do that. Sudo user modify this user VOH trainee. Copy that. Then we see that then the user VOH, which is a powerful privilege, an elevated privilege for this training. We are adding, and so basically the command says user modify, you add group sudo. So we are adding this user to this group. And of course, they will also inherit the privileges in this group, which is the sudo privileges again. Okay, so now ID VOH to me is going to give us information about this trainee, which is telling us the your ID, the group ID, and this is the group the trainee belongs to. So belongs to this group and also pseudo group. So that's the pseudo, belongs to the pseudo. Which one what we did when we ran this command right there. We added this trainee to this group. Okay. And of course, once you are in the group, you inherit the privileges of that group. Okay, so the next command is the grep command. So the grep command looks for patterns. It searches for patterns that you give to it. So for this particular command, is checking whether the user VOH trainee exists on the system. So this is the folder directory, let's see pass wd. Okay, so we are searching for this name inside this folder. Okay, so we see this user is it. So usually when maybe a staff has been let go, usually this is some of the commands you run to verify they no longer exist in the system. Okay, after you must have probably deleted their user profile. Okay, so the next step is the process management. Okay, let me clear my screen. So for process management, we are going to be using the psoff command. So this particular command lists the running processes on my server, which is a lot. Okay, so that's why we have the grep. So the grep will only give us what we want to see, not everything. So for this command, we say list all running processes and then filter only those related to bash. Okay, so this command right here is like it passes on to the next command. So it combines two commands in one or even multiple commands. I think we're going to see that as we go along. Well, it passed on to another command. Okay. So list the running processes, but only show us, filter out only the ones related to bash. So run it again. So you see, it's only giving us two, unlike when I run it the first time without this extension right here, this extra command. So we only gave us two running processes that's related to bash. Okay, then this one, okay, okay. So this particular command says capture a system report and print only 20 lines, head-20. So if you notice once again, you see that you have that send output to another command. So this basically says run this command, whatever you do, send it to this, right? So capture the one-time system status report, stop, and then run it. So the B is batch mode. So the top shows real-time system processing, like the CPU usage, memory usage, and then the B says batch mode. That means non-interactive. And then N1, this aspect of the command says run this only one time, not continuously. And then send the output, which is this um, um, command here, this symbol here. Send the output to this side, and this side simply says show us only the first 20 lines. Okay, so that's the meaning of that. So if we run that, it's showing us the things we asked it to do. Okay, the CPU, the memory, you can see that here. Okay, so then the next command is, let me see on my screen. E300. So this starts background processing. Okay, that's the command. Then see background job. Okay, so it starts. This is the background process that started. So this command showed us this same process that we just started. So this one here says kill that background job. Okay. So one job again, not showing us anything. Why? Because kill the process using this command right here. Okay. So the next is the disk usage. So this command will show us all mounted file systems on this server, df.p. So this is the file system on my Ubuntu server, and this shows us the size of our directory. And clear my screen. Okay, so you see the size right here. That's the size, and then this shows the log size. So this is the directory forward log. So the star right there says all. The star just means all. Copy that. So these are all the log files in this server, and these are the sizes right here. These are the sizes. Okay. So we can actually combine that command. So this is not part of our lab, but here around. So there you go. So what did I just do? I just added the output, 10 output, and then we asked it to give us the first 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, the first 10 blocks. Okay, so you could combine, mix, and match the commands depending on what you pay for or what you need to find. Then we also have the direction and pipe. Yeah, that's the name of the command. This particular symbol trying to figure out the name pipe. So here we have this command, and this command is the redirection command. And what is this thing? Let me clear my screen once again. So it's saying that, remember we already ran this command, which shows us the running processes, and then this redirection, this greater than sign says, instead of printing the running processes on the screen for us, send it to this file, processes.log. Okay, but before we run that, let's quickly look at what is inside processes.log, the file that we want to send it. So, okay, first of all, let's see that the file doesn't exist. So this redirection command is actually going to first create the processes.log file, and I think it does. Let's quickly see. It doesn't. So the redirection command is going to create the file and then take the output from this command, the ps command. Okay, so let's run that. So now that I've run that, let's now do the ls log. There you go. Remember the first time we ran it, we only saw this. Now we see that the new file has been created. And then if we have to cut, that particular file, remember the cut means shows what is within the file. So if we cut it, you see the ps command. So that is what has been sent into this particular log file. Okay. So if we were to do ps off, it also shows the same thing is sent to that particular file location. Okay, so now the next command says grep. Remember, grep is looking for searching for a pattern, right? So if we do grep sudo inside this folder, so it shows us the group entry for sudo, including users that belong to sudo, super user. So still see the user right here, Ubuntu and VOH training. Remember when we added VOH training to the sudo group, right? Yeah. Okay. So now next is writing a script. So this steps is just it's helping the training to or the new engineer to maybe refresh their memory about their Linux command. So we are going to write in a script. These commands are something that you most likely will use a lot of times during your cloud engineering journey. Okay, so system info script. We're going to write a script, and to do that, let me try and explain what the script is going to do for us. So the cat command, so it's going to create this script right here. So this script, this is the content of this script. It's a build bash script that is within the script folder here. And this is what it's going to say. It's going to echo host name, OS, kernel, CPU cores, RAM, and all of that good stuff. That's what it's going to get. And that's what, when you run the script, that's what it's going to display on our terminal. And we are using the hero doc. So the hero doc is what enables you to have like this line by line text or commands. Without this, you have to write this command on a single line. But this um, enables us to write it on multiple lines. So it's simply saying whatever is within the script, write it to this particular location right here, and we'll keep writing until you see another EOF, end of line. That's actually EOF, what it means, end of line. So everything before this end of line is going to be sent into this particular file right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy the command. When we paste that, we're going to get the warning. Copy. Okay, then so now if we are to cut this particular file, we are going to see exactly the file doesn't even exist before, but we created it and then see all the stuff, all the text, all the commands, the bin bash scripts have been included inside this file. Okay. So now we need to give this file because if we look at this file, you see that it doesn't have execute command. To check that, let's see. So if we look at that, you see there's no X. X is execute, right? There's no execute command because files by default does not come with execute command. Execute right, sorry, does not come with execute permission. So we need to give it that execute permission. And to do that, that's why we are running this particular command right? Chmod, if you remember, we use that earlier to modify file permission and folder permission. So chmod plus X is giving this file permission, the execute permission X is execute. Okay. And then this command will now run the script for us. So that's the script is this script right here. So to run that. Okay, what does it say? No such file of the what did we think I missed something. Yeah, so command had forward slash. So I need to correct that here. So this will be space. So to run that, you see the VOH information, VOH system information. This is the hosting, the operating system, the kernel, the CPU call, all the information we require. That is what we display. All right. So if you got to this point, you have gotten your hands, dirty, um, run some Linux commands. And like I said, you can also run these validation steps on this current lab that we have. And these commands, believe me, you could also run it on your local. Or like I explained, I don't really like running it on my local so that I don't mess up anything, even though, yes, this is a WSL environment. So I usually prefer spinning up an instance in AWS to run my labs. Yeah, so if you liked the content, you can subscribe for more sessions because this is going to be a long session. We're going to be having like 2 or 3 every week. Um, I'll be putting the GitHub repo to this lab in the description or comment section. So you could actually start it and clone it or fork it and use it to replicate what we just did here. The repo, the file also includes troubleshooting scenarios, um, how to also create your own GitHub account or account folder and also push it there and interview questions, common mistakes to avoid, and all of that good stuff. So thank you and see you next time. And that will be this was session 2. Oh, rather, this was day 2. So it's going to be week 1, day 3. Thank you. And stay live.